Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 262 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
My name is Jordan Willis.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, joining us once again on the show, it's fan favorite. We got Jay Rios back on the podcast. How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing pretty good. How are y'all doing?
Very good, very good. Very glad to have you on.
Yeah.
We have you here, Jay, because we are going to be talking all about the E3, not E3, Summer Games Fest and associated showcases, minus Nintendo Direct. We've got pretty much everything out of the way this summer for what would have been an E3 other than Nintendo's Direct, and we are going to be going through all of the showcases, not individually game by game, but we're going to be talking about some of our favorite reveals, trailers, and whatnot from the showcases so far. Other than that, we also have a little bit of news, some NSO updates. We got some new Game Boy games added to the Nintendo Switch Online. There is a big sale going on the Switch. Steam Next Fest is happening, and much, much more. But before we get into all that, how's everybody doing? Do we have a good week this past week?
I'm like really focused on today because I can't think about anything I did in the past all of a sudden. But my kid went to his first summer camp, and it is relevant to this podcast and people listening. It is a game development camp.
Wow.
And he had a really good day. Of course, like any new experience, nervous and all that. But when I picked him up, he was having fun and playing Smash. Because I guess they have some breaks to play games and stuff. And he told me he came in second in every Smash match he played. So like 8-player Smash matches or whatever. So
okay, that's better. He came in second in every 1v1.
In every 1v1.
Yeah.
That's so optimistic.
He didn't lose. He came in second. No, but anyway, it was just kind of cool.
Does he have a leg up with having a dad who is a game developer?
I don't know. It is funny though, because like I feel like when I was his age, I didn't like the way we talk about games, like the collisions and hitboxes and stuff like that. Like
right.
So I'm sure that kids are more knowledgeable about that stuff now than when we were kids. But I do think he may like come in knowing more like that kind of terminology.
Yeah. I bet most of those kids don't know what coyote time is. So.
Yeah.
What's coyote time?
Yeah, it's like, I don't think I know what coyote time
I don't know what that is.
It's the brief number of frames where you can be off of a ledge while you can still jump, basically.
Oh.
It's like Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
I love that.
That makes sense.
Learn something new every day. How about you, Jordan? How are you?
I'm doing okay. The past week or so, maybe 2 weeks, it's kind of really dawned on me that the job I had for the past 3 to 4 years is gone, not coming back, and I need to try to take my next steps to move forward in that career, if that's the path I want to continue on. Just trying to figure that out. So I've been on kind of a tear, just editing my photos. I've just been in a very heavy creation phase for at least 5 years. And now I'm just trying to cull it and build a really nice portfolio and do all that stuff and all the boring stuff that you don't want to do as someone who makes art, And then today I ended up watching a movie I worked on 5 years ago, almost this time 5 years ago. And it was just a really bizarre experience for a lot of reasons, but it felt like a good sense of closure. I'm going to talk to a friend tomorrow about it, but yeah, it was cool to see my name in the credits. That did feel good. But yeah, so just hanging in there and trying to move forward. But yeah, what about y'all?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm continuing to get moved in to the new place. I'm slowly but surely breaking down all my boxes and getting everything out of where they need to be. I got my magazines set up in the back here, which is nice to finally have that done. Next stop is my dresser. I've still got all my clothes in boxes right now. I've just been kind of picking out what I need as I go. But so that feels good. I am liking the new place. I enjoy living here so far. And then, I put out a post today. We've only got 3 Good Fights left. Good Fight is the show I've been hosting comedy show at Fallout Theater. I've been hosting it for 10 years. Every single week we've done a show. I've done over 500 shows. And we have our final show on June 27th. So we've got 3 left, and put out a big post today. Got in touch with like the Austin Chronicle, trying to get at least something out there for these last shows and stuff like that. So I'm kind of bittersweet about that, but I think ultimately, I think it's going to be nice to have my Thursdays back, and you got to end a thing at some point, you know. That was one where I was, I don't know if I want to be doing a weekly improv show until I'm 40. So it felt like a pretty good time to end it there, but that's the gamut of emotions that I'm running through right now. How about you, Jay? How was your week?
My week was good. I'm in a weird place right now. I've joined, I don't work in the game industry, but I was also unfortunately laid off from my job like a month ago now. And I am just like, it's nice having this much free time, but then I also still find myself busy. And I'm also getting ready for my next wrestling show, which I'll plug near the end. But you know what? Like, it's whatever. It's kind of nice to not have to work. So I'm just enjoying it right now.
Oh, yeah. That's the dream.
Yeah.
Good to enjoy where you are, I guess.
Yeah. No, exactly. I got more time for games, more time to spend with my girlfriend. Well, kind of, because she actually works.
Same amount of time.
But it's still good.
You're a stay-at-home dad.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, last week we did an episode on the ethics of golf versus video game golf. As we said, wide-ranging discussion about all sorts of issues and things. And we got some comments over on YouTube. Real Tomato said climate heads unite, and also talked about composting and composting pizza boxes and that sort of thing in Austin, and contacting your apartment complex if you don't have composting and that sort of thing. Over on our Discord, Swampy Southpaw kind of talking about water conservation, talked about living in Utah and people trying to have green grass lawns, which spurred a conversation about weird states in Utah.
Yeah.
Hans
It's up there.
Hans Gauger brought up disc golf as an alternative. Cool Uncle Vince made some comments about the high barrier of entry to golf, which is one thing I thought about talking about, like the cost of, clubs and things like that.
Yeah, I feel like we touched on it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of inherently. And then AV said, Switch Headz is the only podcast I sub to that could do an episode on golf that not only do I not skip, I actively rush to listen to. So thank you, AV, and everybody else who commented or said anything. We appreciate that. It's always nice.
I loved doing that episode. I don't know that it was one of our most popular episodes, but that's okay. It was that, it's one for them, one for us. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's how it works.
They can't all be big
the Disney Zoom Zoom Festival.
Yeah. Well, if you too want to be shouted out, we love hearing from our listeners and viewers. If you have a comment about anything on the show, then definitely leave a comment in the YouTube or join the Discord, be part of the conversation there, or send us a note. We'll try to shout you out. We have a Patreon. We appreciate all our patrons. If you want to help support the show, you can go check that out. And also, another thing that you could do that would really help the show is watch the video version and hit like and subscribe on YouTube while you're there. And we're going to talk about the news for the week. So I guess our main topic is the news in a lot of ways, but we have some other non-Summer Game Fest announcement news. And we're going to start off with NSO. The NSO Game Boy app is getting an update. It's all the Mega Man Game Boy games. I don't know, from what I've read and heard, I don't think I ever played a Game Boy Mega Man game, but they're kind of like the NES ones, but worse. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And they're all in the sort of pre-color days, right? So it's also another reason it's maybe not as desirable.
Yeah, more content for NSO is always great. I mean, these games, are beloved, and I know they actually recently, all 5 of them got color patches on like DX fan versions, color conversions that you can get online. So that's like some really funny timing that the original versions came to NSO like right after those got put out. But yeah, as I understand it, 1 through 4 are all kind of like remixes or reusing levels from the first 3 or 4 Mega Man games for the NES. But Mega Man 5 is an entirely brand new game. So that's cool that these are out there. More power to them. I like that the Switch now has almost every single Mega Man game ever created through various collections and stuff like that. But
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
We got to get Legends on there.
Oh,
yeah, that would be really cool.
it's
They
never gonna
honestly,
happen.
they should
It's not.
remaster that game. They should
Yeah,
just put
100%.
that game out. Yeah, for modern platforms.
Another update that just happened on the Switch, right? Like there was a firmware update, I guess today, the day we're recording this, that is to say. What is this? All it does is remove Twitter integration, and is it some stabilization too? I haven't had a chance to look at.
Yeah,
patch
this
notes.
motherfucker is so stable after this patch. I'll tell you what.
About
Yeah, it's about time. That was a rickety
about
old
time.
Switch. But yeah, basically we had talked about this before. This is essentially the update that removes the ability to find friends through X or Twitter, and also removes the ability to post screenshots directly to Twitter, which is a really sad day because I use that feature all the time. In fact, I realized right now I've got a bunch that I was about to upload and I forgot to do. So now I'm going to have to do that horrible QR code method in order to get those off my Switch. I suppose you could also just take the SD card out and plug it into your computer and get them that way. But
It's too much work.
I don't know.
yeah,
if
what
you
am I, a
could.
fucking caveman? Come on.
If you have like don't you have a like you stream, David? So couldn't you just screenshot your screenshots on your PC or your computer?
I suppose that's one way to do it. That's that would not be my preferred method.
Just do a stream where all you do is screenshot.
Just screenshot OBS.
Stream shot. There you go. It's right there.
No, I do know you can grab them off the SD card because because I had a backed up SD card from like my ex-girlfriend that I didn't realize she had used in her Switch, and I had all her like screenshots in there, and I made sure to get those to her. So it was like, but they're in like weird folders, and so it's certainly not how they want you to do it, right? But this is kind of a sad day, but hopefully Switch 2 or Super Switch rather has some better app integration that allows you to get these things a lot easier. Something like the Xbox app.
I think the Sony app has actually made it a lot easier too, where if you have the app on your phone, the picture or video is sent right to the app immediately.
That would
Love
be
it.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over on the eShop, there is a sale. It's not just any sale. It is a Mega Extreme Fun sale, which is happening through the 16th. So, a few days after this episode comes out, it'll still be going on. And I guess this is of note because, first party games don't often go on sale, but here's your chance to get 30-ish% off of a number of first-party games for Nintendo, as well as some third-party stuff, but like Mario Odyssey, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Animal Crossing, Splatoon 3, and some other ones.
Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon is finally $42. I think it's time to bite.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm being sarcastic.
A number of games there, so check it out if you don't already own all those games or aren't interested or are interested in them or what have you. I can't talk.
That's
But,
okay. Notable for me is again, this is like a very graphic design is my passion, like art for this sale. I don't know if you guys have noticed that.
I saw that.
The NA, Nintendo of America, like eShop sales always have really weird names with like super bland like art on them. I don't know. I guess it's nice they do anything at all, but yeah, it's a little strange.
It's nice to, toss the intern something to do every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about what if we call it the Mega Extreme Fun Sale?
Also, the way talking about the graphic design, we're going to spend too much time on this, but talking about the graphic design of it,
That's a topic.
like I definitely read it and I'm like, wait, is it Mega Fun Extreme Sale or is it Mega Extreme Fun Sale? Because of the graphic design and that's not a big deal because it doesn't matter and neither of those make a lot of sense or matter, but like it definitely does like make my brain spin a little bit looking at that.
Well, the question is, what Switch successor clues can we garner from the title of the sale? No, I'm just
Switch Extreme confirmed.
kidding. Yeah, there you go.
All right, moving along. Several times a year, 3 or so times a year, Steam Next Fest is underway as of today, I believe. It kicked off. So about 3 times a year, this happens on Steam, where upcoming games get to show off a demo, and it's sort of become a big thing over the last, 2 or 3 years. It just kind of kicked off, so I don't know if there's a whole lot to discuss quite yet, but there's gonna be, I'm sure, next week, right? David, are we gonna hear from you then?
I've been trying. I love Steam Next Fest. I think it's really cool that they do this, and a lot of games put out pretty beefy demos because it's like less work than making like a full vertical slice. They kind of just parcel out a huge chunk of the game oftentimes, and they do that because these are usually limited demos. They usually take them back after a week. So I really enjoy Steam Next Fest as just like a great way to look at some new games and find some new stuff to add to my wish list. I think one of my favorite things to do with the Steam Deck is just like find games on Twitter or on my deck itself and wish list them, right? And so I think this is a great way to try out some of those games that I thought looked cool for a while and see if they're games that I'll actually want to try out. But yeah, David's Steam Next Fest corner will have to be delayed till next week. But I'm very excited to try out some of these. And a couple that dropped early, I already did try out. And I'll talk about those at the end of the show.
Nice. I don't know. Some of this could maybe be discussed in the main topic, but I did want to mention in the news and talk about a little bit with y'all about that IGN Live happened. A lot of things happened over the last weekend, but this is the in-person thing. And I've been kind of scouring the internet trying to figure out if I could find any like regular person that went and like whether they enjoyed it. Has anybody heard anything about that? I'm really curious. David, you're nodding. Have you found some? I was like trying to troll Reddit or something.
Yeah, I mean, just going around on Twitter and seeing people that were there, and mostly hearing from the people that were running the thing. But I've looked at the schedule and some of what they were doing, and honestly, it seems like it was a pretty fun thing. I mean, we've got the situation where a lot of the showcases are digital, right? But this gives fans a place to all sit and watch these things together. So even if you're just watching a screen, it's not that much different when you're with a crowd of people than if you're in an auditorium watching a screen with a bunch of people like at Summer Game Fest. You know what I mean? So it's like, and it's in LA. So it's like you can go to this like in between going over to the YouTube theater and seeing Summer Game Fest, or wherever the Xbox presentation or the Ubisoft Forward was. It's kind of just a centralized hub that has its own games that you can try and things like that. So it seemed like it was pretty fun. In fact, I think I'll probably try and go to this next year because it seems like a pretty fun excuse to go to LA and be around fellow gamers and watch some of these presentations. So it seemed like a pretty good deal. And I think a lot of the games that were shown off at IGN, they did their own presentations as well. As we'll talk about later, there were thousands of these fucking showcases this weekend, but they didn't charge people to be on them, and it seemed like they really highlighted indies and smaller games, which was a cool thing.
And then one of the sort of things that I've been seeing that kind of came out of IGN Live making the rounds is there was an interview they did with Phil Spencer there, presumably after or around the Xbox presentation, where he made a comment that I don't know what you want to say. Like, it doesn't confirm anything, but it kind of is a big hint or tease about a handheld, right? That Microsoft might be working on a handheld. I guess that he was asked about the rumors, because there's been a lot of rumors. And the exact quote here, I'll pull it up, is the future for us in hardware is pretty awesome. The work that the team is doing around different form factors, different ways to play, I'm incredibly excited about. Today was about the games, but we will have a time to come out and talk more about platform, and we can't wait to bring it to you. I don't know, y'all. That sounds pretty much like there's an Xbox handheld coming.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me, just like a literal Game Pass machine, even if it just a cloud streaming device, sell it for $200, or I guess they'd have to compete with Sony, $250. So, $50 cheaper. Wouldn't surprise me, but like the PlayStation Portal, I'm not really looking for that in that experience unless it's a full on comprehensive, like a Steam Deck style console. But I don't want just a streaming machine at all, personally.
Yeah, I think it would be pretty silly for them not to put out a Windows handheld, right?
Mhm.
Something that essentially was a handheld PC that plays Game Pass, especially since Steam Deck doesn't have a native Game Pass integration. You can stream on there. Also, why would they make a streaming handheld if all their games are going to fucking PlayStation anyway? Just use the portal to play your Xbox games, since so many of those games are going multi-plat, right? So I really hope that it isn't a streaming device. I'm kind of over Phil Spencer right now, if I'm honest. Like, he also was asked point blank about Tango Gameworks and Arcane Austin and totally ducked the question completely. And the IGN live crowd that was watching the podcast were like applauding for him. And I was like, all right, you guys are fucking brain dead right now. Like, he said nothing and you're giving him applause. So chill on that. So I'm just a little bit over, he's kind of on my shit list, Phil Spector right now. Phil Spencer. Phil Spector is also on my shit list.
But he's been there for a long time.
Because he's a murderer and he ruined Let It Be. Let's call a spade a spade. Anyway.
Name all the Phils that are on your shit list.
Yeah. I've actually got a few. But anyway, we don't have to. That's an episode for the future. But anyway, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully this is a Windows handheld, and they can. I feel like if anybody can make a Windows handheld that is going to be competitively priced with the Steam Deck, it's Microsoft themselves, right? I think that's the way to go. The ROG Ally, all these other Windows handhelds have to be a lot more expensive because they don't have the overhead or the storefronts in order to guarantee money back for those purchases. So yeah.
As we've said numerous times now, we're going to get into all the showcases that happened. But one thing that has not happened is a Nintendo Direct. We were promised a Nintendo Direct in June at some point. We're recording this on June 10th, so it could be very much proven wrong by the time this comes out. But there are a lot of rumors and alleged leaks and all that kind of stuff, as happens when, there's a known Nintendo Direct date. How do we parse through these? What do we think is worth believing or paying attention to? Because some of them are suggesting later in the month. Do we think that's more credible than maybe some of these like lists of every potential Nintendo game on these alleged leaks that are like, that's not going to happen?
I think maybe they want to try to get away from the Summer Game Fest hype. There's just so many showcases, as we'll talk about, that I couldn't watch them all, and it was overwhelming. It was probably 20 hours to 30 hours of content. Yeah. And it just, after a certain point, I can't watch all of these. And I feel like if they did a direct at the same time, it would just get lost in the mix, and they like to stand on their own. Mm-hmm. So I could see this happening. Yeah. Later in the month would make more sense in my mind, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly makes sense to be later in the month. I mean, there have been a couple leaks from various people on Fami boards and Resetera. One of them is named PH, who is, I think, Brazilian leaker who has leaked things about when allegedly the Switch successor will be coming out, saying later in the month, 19th at the earliest, which again, 19th, Juneteenth, that feels like a great day for me. I don't know if they would drop it on a holiday. Any earlier than that might be a little strange. We talked about this some in our Discord, just about when we think that this might drop. There was a bit of a rumor going around. I think GameStop accidentally published a blog showcasing a video from the Among Us developers for the 18th, which was basically saying there's a new Among Us update out today. And so it's like, what would that be tied with? I think Innersloth often, ties their announcements with Nintendo Direct. So that wouldn't be super surprising. But I think really at this point, unless you hear it from Puro, don't believe anything that you read right now. There's some rumors going around, Liam Robertson saying there's something Star Fox related. There's tons of like, I've heard this is in the direct. I've heard this is in the direct, but just hype responsibly right now because there is a lot of shit swirling and any of it could be true. And honestly, Puro seems to start posting about a week before directs go up. So if you start to see the bird tweeting, that's when you know something is actually coming up. And I wouldn't believe it from anybody but them.
I think that Jordan was probably right about trying to stay away and it being later in the month. And I think, could be wrong about this. This is just pure speculation, but I would imagine that Nintendo, part of the benefit of them kind of announcing a day or two before is that they can be a little flexible, right? And they probably saw all this and saw people are burned out. Let's give it another week or two. That's total conjecture, but
no, I think that's right. A lot of the people in those threads on family boards were talking about how, Nintendo oftentimes will delay like week of or whatever. It's like it's never set in stone until they say this is when it's happening, right? They don't plan out the exact date like months in advance. I think that they like to have the freedom to move it around where they will. And it makes sense. If some huge news drops and you're like, oh, let's separate this out a little bit, right? But either way, I wouldn't expect it on a Monday and I wouldn't expect it on a Friday. So my money would be on like the 19th or the 20th personally, but we'll have to see.
Their scheduling is vibes based, much like David's record collection I learned today.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, our last bit of news that's going to lead us into our main topic is talking about Summer Game Fest. And Esquire had an article, not specifically about this, but about Summer Game Fest and about E3 and current times. And one of the interesting bits that came out of this is some insider who remained anonymous stated the amount of money that it costs to run a trailer during Summer Game Fest and the Game Awards. So Geoff Keighley's events. Just real briefly, it's $250,000 for 1 minute, $350,000 for a minute and a half, $450,000 for 2 minutes, $550,000 for 2.5 minutes.
So you get a deal the longer you go. A little bit of money off the top there.
So obviously that's a lot of money, and I think I've seen people arguing both ways about this, right? Because you compare it to other big events, and it's comparable or what have you. And I think, as we will probably talk about in a little bit, I think this is now a pretty big thing. But even if this is comparable to other events, seeing numbers like this for minutes of time in a world with all the problems we have is always a little upsetting to me. Like, people are being laid off, and you know what I mean? And marketing budgets are...
That could have been like 10 people's yearly salary,
Yep.
It's
too much.
It is too much. I was like trying to reference it though. I looked up how much does a Super Bowl ad cost, and this blew my little pea brain. $7 million for 30 seconds is ridiculous, but also I feel like that gets way more eyeballs. But another comparison was from 10 years ago. There's an article talking about just like the cost of an E3 booth. And I want to say it was a 600 square foot booth. This company scraped it together for $100,000 over the course of the weekend. But they said it probably would have cost them closer to $300,000 to $500,000 if they had not taken a bunch of extreme measures to try to cut costs. That is from 10 years ago. Who knows what that would cost now, especially with inflation the way it is. But I mean, those numbers seem about right. But marketing budgets have always been just very awful to me, in my opinion. But
yeah, I think you're totally right, Jordan, in that this has always been expensive to get stuff out during this time. And it probably is cheaper than it would have been to have floor space at the convention center, right? Ultimately. But you're also, on one video in one auditorium for like 1 minute of time, right? Where before you'd have people coming in and out and blah, 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 blah. I think that there were a number of times during the presentation where Geoff Keighley mentioned that he invited lots of indies and solo devs to come in for free. I think this story broke like right before Summer Games Fest happened. So it seemed like he was directly referencing that when he was bringing that stuff up. And there was even an article recently, I think their Days of Play or whatever it's called, the like in-person Summer Game Fest part where they show off the games. He was very clear that they're not paying anything to have these games shown at this part. So either way, if, his feet are getting put to the fire and he is pressured to have more people, especially smaller developers, get these things for free, that's great. I think we need to keep talking about this kind of thing. I think I'm also very interested, where this money goes. How much of this goes into next year's Summer Game Fest? How much goes into the Game Awards? And how much goes into Keighley's pocket? Right.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of money. Right. But I'll tell you this, if this explains why we get so much samey slop at Summer Game Fest, right? All this stuff from the giant Chinese mobile developers that can afford, to blow millions on marketing budgets and, hire Chris Hemsworth and then all these celebrities and have 2.5 minute long Summer Game Fest things, right? So, if a couple presentations from some military shooter that I don't give a fuck about, that's 2 minutes long, allows for a bunch of interesting indies with very small teams to get up for free, I think that's a trade-off that's probably worth it. But like we said, we can get more into that in the main topic.
Yeah, the Esquire article estimates around $9.5 million based on those numbers for the Summer Game Fest, which, I can't imagine it's cheap to put on that show. And so, but transparency is nice. And like you said, David, kind of this stuff getting out and us talking about it is helpful for breaking down at least the visibility of this kind of stuff.
For what it's worth, I mean, I think Geoff Keighley, for you could think whatever you want about the guy, but I think Geoff Keighley does want to have dialogues about this kind of stuff. After every Game Awards, after every Summer Games Fest, he always hosts a Twitter space or whatever and talks with people and asks what people liked. He's always taking feedback, whether or not he actually implements it, that's debatable, right? But at least he is clearly open to a dialogue, and he kind of has to be, since he has pretty much a monopoly on all of games marketing right these days. So,
and people are leaking this kind of info, so probably good for him to get out in front. Well, I think I want to keep talking about this, but maybe in terms of what it means bigger. So I think if y'all all agree, unless there's anything else specifically about the money, we can close out the news section, and we're going to take a very short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk all about Summer Game Fest and our favorite announcements so far. We are back, and this week we are talking about Summer Game Fest and the slew of showcases and announcements that happened over the weekend, roughly between the 7th and the 9th of June this year. There was the Summer Game Fest kickoff, and then, oh my gosh, immediately followed by a couple of showcases, right? As well as a bunch over the course of the rest of the weekend. And even today, Monday, there was the Ubisoft one. But we thought we would just kind of talk overall about this event and how this felt and all the sort of the big picture stuff. And then after we get through that, we'll kind of go through our favorite games and what we're interested in and that sort of stuff. But yeah, what do y'all think? Like Summer Game Fest, I think this is an improvement. Like this is kind of, I don't know who to give credit to. I'm sure a good chunk of it belongs to Geoff Keighley. I think maybe he took the feedback, or I don't know how, or if just everybody agreed or what, that we're going to centralize it. It felt much more centralized than the last couple of years, right?
Yeah. The vast majority of it happening over one weekend is an improvement. And I think that made it just made it feel way better, right? And I think some of it is on Keighley for sure, but I really do think he just kind of puts his name on stuff still, like for instance, like the, what was it? The PC gaming show. This was the 10th year that they've done that, right? It's just, I think everybody's just getting more used to doing these things with digital presentations. You know what I mean? Because we're 5 years out from COVID now. And that's like pretty much or 4 years out from COVID. What is time? But, people have now done these digital presentations, not in a big, theater space. Some of them are still happening there, like Xbox was still in a theater and Ubisoft was in a theater and stuff like that. But I think a lot of these tertiary ones are just getting better practice at running these things as they go. And they're all kind of finding their niche on what kind of games they like to showcase, right? And so everything kind of felt like it had its place for the most part. That said, it was an enormous, vast amount of content to look through, like you were talking about earlier, Jordan. I still think having a place that's like a floor, where you can walk around and everything is kind of represented on the floor, makes everything feel like it has more connective tissue. I mean, even here we had IGN had their own thing and Summer Games Fest had their own thing as far as that's concerned, right? So it still felt a little fractured for me, but I agree. I think the vibe overall felt a lot better to me this year.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think the vibe was just having what you said, having it on the one weekend and just being really stoked on this one weekend to just watch all these different showcases or see all these new trailers come out for games that are already announced and stuff. And I do have to feel like Keighley, you know, I like that he is open to criticism and then also just kind of getting ahead of stuff. He's like very smart. I feel like most companies or most video game companies they are reactive instead of proactive. And I would say he's a very proactive person because he said, hey, just so you know, this is going to be a lot of stuff that's already announced. You know, don't expect a bunch of world premieres, you know? So I liked kind of knowing that ahead of time. And I thought that was very, very smart of him. So, I think if anyone's doing it, at least it's someone who cares and is not just some person saying, I'm a monolith Fiji, and I am never going to.
Why you gotta bring me into this?
I just, I see your username, and I was like, wait, I just used the word that's in his username. It has nothing to do with David, but I just, seeing him be open it's just nice. It's a change of pace, and then also having like a specific face attached to it is like interesting. Whereas like E3, it's an organization. Where does my criticism go? Whereas now I can yell into the void at Geoff Keighley's Twitter.
Yeah.
He's such an easy guy to yell at, too. He's got a face just for yelling.
What about you, Jay? How did you feel about it being, a little more centralized? Do you agree?
I don't know. It's still hard for me to watch everything, which I couldn't do, but I did think it was a little bit easier this year. And I also did kind of enjoy having those tempered expectations. Just like, okay, like, don't expect too much. Because there's like a Capcom thing. And of course, I'm like, oh yeah, new Phoenix Wright game. But I knew not to expect that. And that worked out for the best.
Sort of relatedly, like maybe we could talk about Geoff Keighley's opening and discussion. I think a lot of people were critical of the Game Awards of him not mentioning layoffs. But he did this time, and I saw some people be still critical. And in fact, I wasn't able to watch this live, so I heard that criticism before I watched it, which I think helped because when I watched it, I was like, oh, I actually thought he did it okay. Maybe because I'd already heard that it was lip servicey.
Maybe can I speak on that?
Yeah.
For me, he was like, man, a lot of people sure got laid off from the AAA industry. Anyway, solo indie devs. And it's like, well, that's not really the problem. The solo indie devs have always been solo indie developing. I think it once again was him kind of refusing to like put the pressure on the AAA big publishers, right? Because he really needs them, obviously, to get the $9.5 million from, right? And so it's like, yes, of course, we need to celebrate indies. And I loved how much he really did put a focus on indies. And like he kept saying over and over again, solo developers, right? I think that stuff is amazing, right? But, definitely it felt like a little toothless to me, right? But I'm splitting hairs. I'm glad he finally talked about it. At least he didn't literally pretend like it wasn't happening like he did at the Game Awards, right? So it was definitely a step up from that.
I think I've swung a little bit back on Geoff Keighley after all this. Like this year, I feel like we've been ragging on him the last few years a lot, and I think obviously, like you said, it's kind of easy to do because it's his name and it's his face, and he's kind of this milquetoast guy. I don't know, but like
he's like a good old boy. Yeah.
But like, I think one thing that also struck me watching him present, and then when he introduced somebody to talk and present and how they weren't that great of a presenter, I was like, you know what? He's all right. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he's okay at doing this, and he's passionate about it, and he's taking feedback, and he made things a little more compressed. Well, maybe not. It was still a long show, right? But like the weekend or whatever. So I don't know. I want to give him a little credit this about all this, which I think
totally. I thought Summer Game Fest itself like his portion of it, the 2 hours of his presentation, I thought was paced great,
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, he's great at talking, Jason Blum came out like for the Blumhouse stuff, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And I was just like, oh my God, aren't you like an executive? Like, why are you totally whiffing on this right now? Like, I thought that presentation looked cool. I just thought it was like, oh man, it really, like you said, it was like, oh shit, I guess like Keighley is good at being a presenter.
I think it really struck me this time around.
Yeah. But no, I think it's great. And it is a lot of stuff, like we said, but even back in the day, in the times of E3, there were a ton of presentations. You didn't watch every single presentation, generally, like, and even me, I didn't sit down and just like mainline all these presentations. I watched most of them, went to recaps for the ones that I missed, and some of the things that we'll be talking about, I didn't see within the context of a 2-hour long thing, but that's kind of what games media is for. It's like the raw, uncut spewing of games marketing is happening in these presentations. And then it's kind of everybody else's job to parse it out and show people what they should be interested in. Right.
And if we're also being honest, this is a little bit of the democratization of it, right? Like, and if Keighley is sure you're in, that's also, I mean, it does make it feel a little more overwhelming, like, and like thousands of hours worth of presentations, but at the same time, that could theoretically, I mean, I don't know. I'm hemming and hawing here because it's like that also makes it harder to find some stuff, but like it also gives people a chance to throw together a showcase or find it seems like there are more of them, that sort of thing. So,
and if being on Summer Games Fest is too expensive, I'm sure the Guerrilla Collective Showcase, which I think most people didn't even know was a thing, is a lot more easy to get in on. Now, it's not going to have anywhere near the amount of eyes, but at least, it's on his website, right? And he's showing it off, and he's at least, making you aware that it exists in the first place, right?
Yeah.
I did want to talk a little bit about the synergistic relationship between Summer Game Fest and the Game Awards. And it was just interesting to see that, now that he's been doing both for a few years, a good number of years, that, you'll get a world premiere at the Game Awards, and then you'll get a more extensive preview at Summer Game Fest. And I just think that it's interesting kind of back and forth and kind of really smart in a weird way that I got to give him credit for. I'm like, I did not expect, E3 was so centralized and everything is in that one spot and it's one time a year, but he has like 2 spaces a year where
he's
people
got 3 if you count opening night live at Gamescom as well, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stuff being like, hey, we'll show more stuff in August at Gamescom, right? There's a lot of trailers for trailers in Summer Games Fest, I noticed this year.
He's kind of cornered this now. When this first happened, we were kind of like talking about that, right? Like he's trying to, and he did it. And I feel like this year is the bow on it. Like it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I mean, just in terms of how it was organized, I don't remember if they've done this in the past, but I was trying to catch up a little bit today. And I noticed there was like, there was Wholesome Direct. And then, I'm already forgetting the other ones I saw. There's like Dev Days. It would just be interesting if they did more of like first person shooters that Jay doesn't care about direct. That would be or like an all RPG thing. I don't know. It was cool. And I feel like things are moving in a good direction. It's especially agree with David on Geoff's talking about the industry. I feel like it was toothless, but it was also like a good first step, hopefully. So I feel good about it.
Yeah. Definitely the big ones like Summer Game Fest and the Xbox Showcase. That was where all the shooters were.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
I mean, it's definitely, there is like a moment, and I saw somebody say this online, but it's like where you just kind of like realize like, oh, I've been hearing gunfire for the past like hour and a half.
Yes.
It's like you kind of like take a step back and just be like, oh, this is like really violent and like so much just like killing and murder and like, especially with all the Call of Duty stuff in the Microsoft Showcase, which granted, most of it was shoved off to the end, which I appreciated. They opened with it and they shoved the rest off to the end, which I thought was pretty good. But, the 2 that were kind of separate from this were Sony and Nintendo. I kind of feel like I missed Nintendo's presence here. It feels like there was a lot of things that would have been shown here that they aren't allowed to show this weekend because they're going to be revealed at a Nintendo Direct.
Silk Song.
I think Yeah, Silksong has got to be one of them, right? Because I mean, it's coming to Game Pass day one, Silksong. So it not being at the Xbox showcase, that has to mean that it's going to be at the Direct, right? But they got Team Cherry for that. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to self-immolate live on stream. But I do not give a fuck about Hollow Knight, for the record. I just thought that'd be funny to say. And then Sony, they did their state of play like last week, right? So maybe that was for the best that they weren't doing it this week because it was like a little lackluster, like we talked about. But certainly, I mean, if anybody like won out of the big three of like this weekend, it definitely was Microsoft. I was, all the shooty gunplay stuff aside, I thought Microsoft actually had a really great showing, and really well paced. And I went in ready to hate whatever Microsoft was putting out because they're on my shit list right now, because, they've been letting go of tons of people and all these development studios that I really like, And so the fact that I was actually really won over by that presentation, I think says a lot to the quality there, the pacing, and just the amount of variety of games that they had on display.
All right, so now maybe we can just move into some of our favorite announcements and trailers and that sort of thing, or updates or whatever you want to call it. Who wants to go first? Maybe starting with the Summer Game Fest itself. It kicked off with something. Do we want to talk about that one? Is an interesting one to kick off with too, right?
This was leaked beforehand that this was coming out, but the Lego Horizon Adventures game was confirmed to be here, which is a Lego game set in the Horizon Mystic Dawn or whatever I don't know what any of those games are called. I don't really like those games, and I'm not a huge PlayStation gamer. So, but it's set in the Horizon franchise. Interestingly, this is coming to the Switch day one, which no one knew. That was not leaked. It was leaked that it was coming to PC day one, but not to the Switch. So, what do you guys think about that? I think this is the first PlayStation Studios game on the Switch, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, maybe, yeah. MLB The Show, is that count? That's not a PlayStation Studios, but
no, I think MLB would count. Yeah, but this is made by the people who make the Lego games, but I know Guerrilla is also helping out, right? Yeah.
I mean, it just makes sense, like to put it on the Switch, right? Like, I guess because it's kind of probably very family friendly and that sort of thing. It is an interesting choice, though. And I wonder how much that's Lego versus Sony or whatever.
Are there Horizon Legos?
There are.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Because I was like, when it got announced, I was like, are there even sets for this IRL? Or is this just like a new thing? Because for me, I was more confused why they wouldn't go with a Nintendo property, like a Nintendo Lego Mario of some sort, because I'm sure the Lego games sell gangbusters on the Switch for kids. I just don't see why they wouldn't pair that up first if they're going to start branching out into video games.
I think this is Sony I think Sony really wants to push the Horizon franchise because so many of their biggest selling franchises are like M-rated sad dad games. You know what I mean? Like God of War and Last of Us, right? So it's like they need something that's teen rated that they can also market to kids, right? So they've got Astrobot coming out that's going to corner that market. And then I think they really just want Horizon to be a bigger franchise for them. I think it is a big franchise, but I think they want it out even further. They've got the Horizon multiplayer free to play, or at least game as a service game that's going to be coming out.
And the VR game.
The VR game and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is just more of them branching out, really trying to make Horizon happen, kind of past just their insular fan base, which is currently mostly what they have.
And they did put out Lego sets a couple of years ago. It's within the last few years.
It was recently, yeah.
But which makes you think that's probably was part of the deal then, right? Like, we're going to make a set and make a game, and now we're seeing the game, and probably more sets too, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to come down on anyone's yum or whatever the phrase is.
I like that.
I could probably phrase it better. Take two.
I don't want to come on your yum, but yummy, cummy.
Let me start. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum.
There we go.
I like Horizon. I've only played I played a little bit of the second one, but I really loved the first one. And I like Legos. It just feels weird. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like Lego Star Wars and Lego Harry Potter, I'm like, okay, sure. But then it just feels out of left field. And like, there's just like a really big, weird tonal shift when I watch the trailer. It's like, come dance with all your friends. And like in the game, it's like, oh, your friends are dying. Like, you gotta help them out. It's just a weird tone shift. And I'm just like, I would much rather build Horizon Legos, put more of those out than a game. But if it does well, people wanted it. So who knows?
I think y'all nailed it for me. I think it is a weird tone shift from the game. And it is also feels like a very big Sony push. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel natural. Like, people are really asking for this. You know what I mean?
Like, what if we got like Last of Us Legos? Like, that'd be
so fucked up. I would feel
it'd be
so
really
bad
fucked
about
up.
that. Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot darker than Horizon, but I feel like that's the direction they're kind of going.
Yeah. I'm going to make us move on because we've been talking for like 4.5 minutes about the first game revealed. So, Jordan, what's up next that you have on this list?
Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. No.
Actually, a Quidditch game sounds kind of cool, but this game did not look that good.
A Quidditch game is the fact that that's not a game yet is incredible. It's like blows
it makes
my mind.
So much
sense. And then they made this game and it looks like such dog shit. But that's all the lip service I'm going to give it. Star Wars Outlaws, there's like a teaser in the Summer Game Fest kickoff presentation that later got more fleshed out in the Ubisoft Direct. I am really kind of stoked for this game. I haven't really played a Ubisoft open world game in a long time, so I'm not really burnt out on that entire genre, with it, whether it be Avatar or Far Cry or any of the other ones. So I'm kind of stoked for this. It looks like, Red Dead in space, and just like the way that you shift from the ground and you get in your ship and then you go up in space and you're fighting in space and you have to go into hyperspace, which is obviously the loading screen. And then you have to go back down to the planets. I don't know. It looks like it's really looks like it works for me. And, no one's really ripped off Red Dead 2 successfully, and this might be the one. So I'm actually really stoked for this game. It's one of the only new games this year that I might end up picking up. We'll see. But yeah,
they went into a lot more detail about it. Like Jordan was saying, it seems like it's like a cowboy game, right? It's like you're a scoundrel, right? And it's like set in the crime era and the underworld of Star Wars, right? So it just looks really fun, and it looks like also it's doing a lot of what Starfield failed to do, like what a lot of people wanted out of Starfield. This is doing, like you were talking about, the seamless transition between space and planets and all this different kind of stuff. It's doing the dogfights in space and the random encounters and all this kind of stuff, right? But it seems like not a Bethesda style super open thing. It's like a little bit more guided, even though it is an open world. I don't know, I think it looks great. It was kind of surprising how good this game looked. It's going to be one you're going to want to wait for reviews on. I'm not going to go pick it up day one because it is a Ubisoft game after all. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good.
And it will probably go on sale pretty quickly. It's also just nice to see a Star Wars game without lightsabers. Few of those. And, I think one of my biggest gripes with Star Wars as a whole is just the lightsaber worship when the entire universe exists and very, very few people in the entire universe can actually use lightsabers. So the fact that we're finally getting a game centered around the fact that there's not a lightsaber is just refreshing.
I agree. I think we all are this way a little bit, and we talked about it. We're not into shooty, violent, M-rated games that like Sony and Microsoft push, but I like to play one every once in a while. And this one definitely, and I don't know that this even qualifies as that, but like in terms of sort of, bigger open world, graphic games, like this one kind of excites me, and I try to play one every once in a while, and I'm like, oh, I hope this is the one for me for the next year or whatever. What else?
Yeah, another game that stood out to me was Neva, I believe is how it's pronounced. It is by the developers of Grease. And I don't have like a ton to say about this game, just that it is gorgeous and obviously has beautiful backgrounds and hand animated characters and stuff like that. And I love the look of that. And also just the gameplay of this looks a lot more my speed than Grease's gameplay.
Yes.
I loved the look of Grease. I loved Grease in theory, but in playing the game, I found it to be really slow paced. And it didn't hold my attention. This one looks like a lot more fun, just from a combat perspective and stuff like that, while maintaining a lot of the aesthetic that I love from Grease so much. So this one definitely stood out to me.
Agreed. Just on what you said about, like, I played through Grease and beat it. It's obviously not a very long game, but I kind of played it and was like, that was all right. You know what I mean? And also, like, I think I'm just a little maybe obtuse, and like other people were like, "Oh, the meaning and the stuff." I was like, I didn't really pick up on what they were trying to convey.
It wasn't that deep. Also, it was just.
But like, you know, I think it's one of those games you can read a lot into, and I'm not good at doing that always. And this game seems a little bit or a lot like that, but maybe more clear, if that makes sense. And also like. Just like you said, more up my alley. So
there are some writers who use subtext, and Patrick thinks they're all cowards.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Just tell me what you want me to feel.
Another one that was a standout, and Jay, I want to get your opinion on this, was Metaphor Refantasio. Was the new game from Atlas. What did you think about this presentation?
Put that game in my veins, dude. Like, I am so hyped. Like, I'm a big Persona fan, and everything I've seen about that game looks incredible. I have one complaint. It's really more about the marketing, is that every commercial I've seen for this game, it ends with coming soon to Xbox and Windows. And I thought it was exclusive for a while. And then it's like, no, like if you just go online and like if you try to order a collector's edition or whatever, like it's on PS5 also. All the advertising only mentions Xbox and Windows for some reason.
Well, I think it's coming to Game Pass day one. So it's probably they probably have a marketing deal with Microsoft. Yeah.
Well, outside of that, day one, like I'm trying not to buy any new games that are like $60 or higher this year. Mm-hmm. I will pay $100 for that.
Jay, stop!
Sorry, I will. Also, whoever is making these menus over at Atlas, like, please make menus for everything. Like, I could spend minutes just like settings. Okay, it's like, ooh, turn up the volume. Hell yeah. So yeah, that's my main thoughts on that.
No, it looks great. A lot of anime cutscenes that they showed off, and there's like a job system and stuff. I don't know. Just looks like a cool spin on Persona style gameplay. But
next, do we want to talk about the Blumhouse Games sizzle reel?
Sure.
I was pretty impressed by this, to be honest. I'm mixed on Blumhouse as a film studio, mostly because so many of their movies, you watch it once and I like instantly forget about it forever and I never think about it again. But I do kind of like that they will take a smaller budget film and take on that risk, and just, you know, if it does really well, they kind of keep going with that. You know, they're kind of almost kings of like the small budget film, which doesn't really exist anymore. There's like either micro budget indies or blockbuster movies, and then anywhere in between, you know, anywhere the $3 to $20 million movie is like maybe A24, Blumhouse, and Annapurna sometimes, you know. But so to see them take that kind of philosophy into the game world is pretty cool, and take the risks. And I thought, like, honestly, all the games they showed looked like games I would play. And there was like such a variety. There's like one that's like a first person shooter, one that's like a 90s nostalgia, one that's like a meta simulator game, one that's like they had a farming sim with murder. That's nice.
I liked that one.
And then they also announced, like, it looked cute.
It looked cool.
Like the Project C with Sam Barlow and Brandon Cronenberg seemed really interesting, because I recently played 2 Sam Barlow games, Her Story and Telling Lies. And I was just kind of fascinated with that as like the evolution of Night Trap, basically, you know?
The full motion video game.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's like a new version of FMB. And I'm like, dude, this makes so much sense. And then to see him team up with Brandon Cronenberg seems really cool. I'm really curious to see what they had like nothing to show. They just announced it in title cards. It was like a Metroid Prime 4 situation. But anyway, and then they had him come out and talk on stage. I just thought the whole thing was like really interesting and a cool way to announce your brand new studio with a whole slate of games right there.
Yeah, you get the most out of that expensive, you know, time share that you've got. You know, if you're splitting it between like 6 different announcements over the course of like 2 minutes, yeah, it's a pretty good way to do it. Also, shout out to my buddy Joe Lambert, who is the production lead over at Blumhouse. I know she's been over there for a minute, and nobody's really known what they're working on. And to just come out of the gate and be like, we've got 6 different studios all working on these games, and this is what we have to show for it. It was a really great, here we are, we're a new distributor, and this is what we have, right?
I did like they also said the name of the game by the studio, and it made the whole thing feel more personal and put a face to it, like so many, you hear about all these layoffs and stuff like that, and it just almost sweeps who these people are under the rug. To have the name of the studio right there, I don't know, it just felt like more genuine. So I'm kind of curious to see what they got.
Mm-hmm. A couple others I'd like to talk about real quick. I can kind of fire through some of these, but the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind looked pretty cool. I'm not a big beat 'em up guy, and I heard people talking about this. Yeah, I heard people talking about this, and then I saw it and I was like, oh, it's a beat 'em up. But then I watched the trailer more and I was like, oh, there's actually some really cool different kind of stuff in here. I love the Mode 7 style, the over the shoulder, almost, it looks kind of like I forget exactly what you call it. It's like the super scalar style visuals, right? Looked really, really cool when they were doing car chases and fighting dragons and stuff like that. I don't know. I just thought all that looked really great. And Sean Biello, who did the music for Donut Dodo and also Penny's Big Breakaway, did the soundtrack for this, and in fact was singing the Power Rangers theme over it and doing the electric guitar thing. So there's a couple games that he was revealed to have been working on, which I'm excited to talk more about, but he's one of my favorite composers, so that was cool to hear. Another game I wanted to talk about was Wonderstop, which is the new Davey Redden game. Davey Redden, friend of the show, was the creator of the Stanley Parable. This looks really cool. This is another farming sim, but with a twist, right? Or a life sim, sort of cozy game, but there's something kind of darker lurking under the surface. I know this is a game that Davey's been working on in secret for a really long time, so it's another thing where it's just hey, I've been working on this game for multiple years now. I get to finally announce it and show it off to the world. Was really exciting to see. Can't wait to see what kind of meta element is involved here, because that's kind of his calling card at this point. And then I also wanted to mention Mars First Logistics was part of the Outer Sloth charity fund. So Inner Sloth are the developers of Among Us, obviously, and they've made so much money off of their game that probably cost nothing to make. Has a very small team of people, so they've been putting that forward into publishing other indies and giving them a little bit more time in the sun. This is a great presentation from the Inner Sloth team, and one of the games that looks really good on here was Mars First Logistics. I've been actually eyeing this game for a really long time, ever since I had so much fun building vehicles and whatever in Tears of the Kingdom. This looks like a game all about that, but you're on Mars kind of building rovers and stuff like that. It's how can you get from point A to point B, or do this task with the pieces that you have. It just seemed like a really fun, creative game, and it just seemed like a really cool setting for that sort of thing as well. So I'm really excited for Mars First Logistics.
I watched my kid play Kerbal Space Program a lot recently, and that is not for me, but something about this feels, maybe it's the art style mixed with hopefully objectives that are a little better.
It looks like Connects.
Yes,
looks like a lot of fun.
Oh my god, that's right.
That's a callback to my childhood. The Outer Sloth Charity Fund presentation was so weird though, because it's here are some games that look pretty cool, and here's 5 seconds of them, which Blumhouse kind of did the same thing, but I think I got a little bit more. But it's interesting. I'm kind of curious, they're saying that they're starting this whole new fund to what exactly does that mean? I don't think that was as apparent. I guess I need to go read the literature, but that's cool though. That I like to see devs supporting other devs. I think that's something that's going to become more and more important in the industry as we go on, especially with all the layoffs in the AAA sphere. To see someone their direct response to that is to try to help out smaller devs. I don't know. That seems like some path forward for game development. Sustainability.
Totally. Yeah. There's another indie that's done this too, and I wish I could think of who it was. but
Double Fine?
maybe it is Double Fine.
I think so.
And so there's a little bit of a path for this, and like you said, Jordan, I hope we see more of it. When somebody,
I know Double Fine runs Day of the Devs, and they've been doing it for years. So.
I think there's somebody else, but it doesn't matter. Let's hope there's more.
Yes, no, it was really cool. Love to see that.
Jordan, you had one last one from Summer Game Fest.
I never really played a ton of Skate, but I really enjoyed playing Skate 3 with some friends the past couple years. Every time, like, we just sit down, we pass the controller back and forth and try to do more increasingly ridiculous tricks. And so whenever they said there's a new Skate coming, I was like pretty stoked because I got really into Ollie Ollie for a second. I played 1 and 2 pretty heavily, and it's a similar mechanic where you have to do the tricks by turning the right joystick. So, but I was like really kind of bummed out by this because the trailer was mostly Tim Robinson doing like a on the cutting room floor sketch from I think you should leave. Yeah. And then
it was not his best material. Yeah.
And then it was like pre alpha gameplay footage that looked really unrefined and soft. It's kind of like the GTA 6 leaks style footage. And I was like, and they're like, console test coming later this year. And I'm like, dude, why did you show any of this footage? Like, this is not putting your best foot forward. But I am still excited that, by the end of this year, you'll be able to play online with your friends or at least do the console test. But it was just like a really bizarre thing to me that I'm like both excited for and also like a little weirded out by the whole situation.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with like Skate lore, so this made up corporation that's like a part of the game is not what I associate with the Skate brand. It's the fucking skateboards, you know what I mean? So I was like, man, why are you spending so much time on this? It was kind of strange, but whatever. I hope Tim Robinson got paid.
Me too. I hope Ken Jeong, Chris Hemsworth, Will Arnett, and the guy who holds up the signs and the memes got paid for their Squad Busters ad. I saw that and I was like, dude, I hope y'all all got paid because
they fucking did. Yeah.
I want to complain about that one real quick. I don't know, maybe I misunderstood it, but that looked like the epitome of a mobile game whose ad does not represent what the game actually is.
Yeah.
Like the ad's like, you squat up with your pals. Like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
You just play as 4 characters.
You just play with other people. Like,
yeah. There was definitely some other stuff in here. We probably won't get into Sonic Shadow Generations. The Alan Wake 2 DLC looked pretty good, and some other stuff. But those were like the main standouts that we saw from Summer Games Fest.
Yeah. The other big one we want to talk about is the Xbox showcase, which, like David, I think, said earlier, we all came in kind of wanting to not like, and then it was a well done presentation.
I was kind of mad. Like halfway through, I was like, I'm mad that this is
me too
good. By the time Perfect Dark rolled around, I was like, damn it. So let's just start. Let's start going at the
start.
Yeah, Doom Dark Ages was one of the first ones that really caught my eye. I didn't play Doom Eternal. It seemed a little bit more of the same to me, and I'm not a huge shooter guy. I know it's quite a bit expanded from the original Doom, but this looks really cool. Like the vibe of this is way different. It's got a gun that uses crushed up skulls as bullets. You can ride a dragon at one point. It showed at the very end. Like it looks like way bigger arenas and spaces compared to all the other Doom games. So I was really impressed with this and the whole kind of like medieval vibe. Looked really awesome. Yeah, it's a great fit for Doom.
Yeah, they've never done a different vibe to I'm not a huge Doom person either. Like I've only played the old ones, but like like kind of cool to marry that to this sort of medieval vibe.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who has played almost every Doom game, I haven't beaten every Doom game, but I think I've played pretty much all of them. Doom 3 is probably the furthest, and that's like more of like a slow-paced survival horror.
I do like Doom 3. Yeah.
But I played Doom and Doom Eternal. Doom 1 was just like, hey, we can still make a Doom game. Cool. Doom Eternal is incredible. That is probably one of the best first-person shooters like ever made. It is like peak boomer shooter because not only did they take the mechanics that worked really well in Doom, they added all this like they added like a triangle of like weaknesses to this game, which is like not something I would ever expect in a Doom game. And it's just like super fast paced and really fun to just like run through, to rip and tear. And the music is incredible.
Yeah.
But dude, this looks so cool. I'm so stoked. And then the lore that they built up in Doom and Doom Eternal is like so bizarre and messed up that I'm like, oh yeah, show me where he came from. Like, show me why he is the Doomslayer. So I'm actually really excited for this game. This looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
What's is the triangle thing like a Fire Emblem thing where like this weapon's strong against this one but weak against this? Ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh,
so it's the same. It's the
okay.
same concept, but like certain enemies are one type and certain and then your certain guns like blunt, sharp. I can't remember the exact triangle, but the fact that there was a triangle in an FPS is like
cool
really
as hell.
bizarre. Yeah,
You
and
just,
it makes
you just sold a copy of that game too, both Jay and Summer.
And Summer. Yep.
Yeah, it makes you actually switch your guns. Like it makes you, because you're like,
Ah.
oh, okay, this enemy's not
That's so
gonna. I can't
smart.
use this gun. So it
Yeah.
like makes you actually rotate through the gun list instead of just running through the game with one gun,
That's
the
cool.
shotgun.
Nice.
Another game I thought totally caught me by surprise. I had no idea this was even a thing. It's called Claire Obscure Expedition 33, or maybe it's just Expedition 33. I'm not really sure exactly what it's called, but this is a game that's developed by a French developer. But it looks like almost like a Persona style game, right? It's like it is a turn-based RPG that's set in this different world with really flashy, like timing-based attacking.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, but it's you just don't see a ton of Western turn-based RPGs like this, and it's just. And again, I'm repeating something somebody said online, but really looking forward to playing a turn-based RPG where you're not playing as high schoolers. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, this is like a different vibe for this style of game, you know, and we've seen the formula played out to death with Atlas and, you know, Square and all those kinds of things. Seeing somebody have a new, fresh take on it and not like shoehorning in, you know, action RPG stuff and, trying to make it palatable for a more modern audience. Like this just seems like they took all the best things from really interesting turn-based RPGs and put it into a kind of like French deco sort of style. I don't know. It's really interesting looking. And I was really blown away by this. Sandfall Interactive is the developer for it. I think it looks really cool.
Very nice.
It looked really neat. I was really impressed by it.
Get major Legend of Dragoon vibes, which I was a big fan of Legend of Dragoon back in the day.
Yeah. Next, South of Midnight looked pretty incredible too.
Yes.
It just, the animation style is really appealing to me. And then watching a little bit of the gameplay, it almost reminds me of I can't tell. Is it gonna be kind of like a Metroidvania kind of style of game, or like more of like a story driven first person single player experience? I can't really tell, but I like what I'm seeing in the gameplay. It's reminding me of like platforming with fighting, and it just, and the character design, the voice acting, it's all working for me in conjunction. And I'm excited to see a game take place somewhere I have not really seen a ton of, like a bayou swampy kind of area. It's cool.
Yeah, this looks really great. It's got that kind of Spider-Verse like low frame rate style, which is working for it for me anyway. I think it's really working on me.
Yeah.
I saw somebody refer to this online as Bayonetta, which I think is really fucking funny. But yeah, like you said, like swampland, like deep south, like as a setting for this just seems like such a cool setting. You never see that in games, and it's really untapped, and it's got a giant ugly talking fish that you ride around as a mount, like it's really, really cool. So I'm definitely pumped for this game. This one looks really great.
Metal Gear Solid 3 looked, or what is it? Metal Gear
Delta.
Solid Snake
Metal Gear Solid
Delta
Triangle.
Yeah.
Just call it Snake Eater.
Yeah.
Just call it Snake Eater.
I think most people will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Snake Eater remake is what they'll call it. But yeah, it looks pretty good.
That's great.
A lot of people are complaining. They're like, the piss filter is gone, and so I don't want to play it. It's like, I don't know, man. It looks pretty fucking good to me. I think the graphics look great. I don't know that the like soul of it has been stripped away. I think the character designs look really good. When he rolls forward, you see like dirt and like dust kick up and all this like great environmental stuff, and it looks like a really faithful remake as well. Yeah, I'm excited.
Did y'all read that his scars stay? Like if you get injured, your scars stay on your skin?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
This is the future I want.
Yeah, every player's playthrough will be unique based on how he looks at the end of the game. Yeah.
That's cool as hell.
That's a very Kojima. That is the essence of Kojima right there. So hopefully they're taking, good notes from that instead of, what Bloober Team is doing with Silent Hill 2, it seems. Sorry, I had to throw some shade at Bloober Team. But
thank you.
Let's make Metal Gear Solid a live Twitch story or whatever.
Yeah. Perfect Dark. Let's talk Perfect Dark. I thought this looked pretty great. It's not the vibe that I associate with Perfect Dark. Like this is very like modern or like near future Middle East, which is like, I think of like a giant tower in a city generally, but this feels like it's maybe one area of Perfect Dark. I don't know that the whole game is going to be set here, but for something that we've heard is having a lot of troubled development, they came out with a really good looking representation of this game. What did you guys think about this?
I didn't know what it was.
I didn't either at first. I did not know at first either myself. I thought it looked cool. It makes me want to go back and play Perfect Dark because I never played the first one.
Yeah, play the first one and just don't think that. Just pretend the second one doesn't exist. You'll be fine. This is
There's
cool.
a second one?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, there's a second one, and it's the Game Boy Color game.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. The first thing I thought immediately when I saw this trailer, I was like, oh man, it would have been really cool to see what like Arcane Austin would have done with something like this. Was like the first thought I had. And I was like, man. But it does look pretty cool. Like looks to be taking like almost a page out of like Deus Ex, the more recent Deus Ex games, which I was a big fan of. And to see kind of like stealthy kind of gameplay like that looked pretty cool. And it makes sense if you're going to update the Perfect Dark franchise, this looks like the way to do it because, the original Perfect Dark did have more sneaking elements than say something like GoldenEye where you're just going in guns a-blazing every mission or you can. And Perfect Dark had more like sneaking around and spying and using technology to become more aware of your surroundings and build a plan. And the parkour in this game looks really cool. It's giving me like Mirror's Edge vibes.
I got a lot of Mirror's Edge vibes.
Yeah, I can see that.
We haven't seen a Mirror's Edge game in, over a decade. So it's cool that someone could even take some of that mantle,
Yeah, EA doesn't seem interested in continuing Mirror's Edge. So if other people want to do it, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
This looks great. Yeah, this is the Initiative, obviously, has been working on this for a very long time. And I think Crystal Dynamics is also helping with this game. So it's kind of a team up between those two studios. But there are a couple other games that look pretty good on here for me. Mixtape was the game by, I think they're called, what was it? It's like Bear and Beethoven or something like that. But anyway, it's the people that made the Artful Escape. And this one looks really cool. This is another like low frame rate, like artistic game, but it looks like it's very much like it's like set in the 80s and it's got, I don't know, just had the vibes were just really great on this game. I don't really know too much about it. I kind of don't want to know too much more about it. It kind of just seems really fun. And it looks something that you want to kind of go in blind and just experience the story and, kind of the vibe of what it was like to, sneak out and try to go into concerts and like, come of age without having to like kill God like a JRPG. And then so that looks pretty good. And then I thought and I'm not a huge Indiana Jones fan like the movies necessarily, but I thought the Great Circle is looking pretty good. And I tell you what, I am a Machine Games fan, the people who made all of the Wolfenstein games, and this is looking pretty great. What did you guys think about this presentation?
Looked cool. As someone who watched the 5th Indiana Jones movie and was very sour on it, I'm like, I wish they would have just focused everything into this because this makes more sense. You can de-age Harrison Ford in a art form where it makes sense to do that. Like it's, it's a character model. It's not actually him. You're not having to get like a body double. Anyway, whatever. So it looked cool. And it looked like the style of the movies. Like they looked like they captured that really well. And it's just nice to see the Lucas Arts logo on something again. Did they put that at the front?
They did.
I was like,
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, or some Lucasfilms. Maybe
I think it's Lucasfilm.
I think it was
games,
Lucasfilms,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it looks
Yeah.
similar, yeah.
Yeah. The little okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it looked pretty cool. The Wolfenstein games are incredible too. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that gives some faith too, right? Just the
Mhm.
machine games, like you said, David.
They have yet to make a bad game. Yeah.
I guess I better play Wolfenstein.
Well, I mean,
Fun.
they're
I got the
good.
time for it.
Yeah.
So.
Play Doom Eternal first, and then maybe go to.
Well, I actually haven't even played the new Doom yet, so I need to go back and do that.
Yes.
Then-
I wanted to just talk a little bit about Fable 4 and just like how little we've really seen of this game this whole time. And it's like been announced for a long time. Like even Indiana Jones before this, we had like a pretty decent trailer of like, oh, okay, it's going to be an Indiana Jones game where you're first person, you have the whip, you have the gun. Like I get the vibe. Fable 4, it's just been like the Office style cutscenes with like really weirdly, uncanny valley representations of famous people that you vaguely know who they are. And it was just very strange. So this one finally showed a little bit of gameplay, and it was just like not enough for me to be like, I'm excited about Fable, especially because the art style is like way more realism than I'm used to in a Fable game. It's like very cartoony. I saw someone say online that the Dragon Age style and the Fable style should have been switched.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, wow.
I was like,
Yeah.
that makes too much sense.
I can
you
agree
know?
with that. Yeah.
But it is a game I'm still interested to see where it goes. I don't know if the humor's landing for me, but I like what they're trying to do. So see what happens. Very interesting Microsoft Flight Simulator ad where the first thing they led with was you can use Microsoft Flight Simulator to like maybe get a job as an airplane pilot, which is like, oh, is this the FAA's plan to like replace all the pilots that are retiring over in the airline industry? Because this is a really bizarre take. They're taking like a army style approach and making
America's
a video
Army.
game. Yeah, it's just like very bizarre. But I think the last game I really wanted to talk about was Avowed, which is Obsidian's new game. I like Obsidian. I like what they tried to do, and to see them return to fantasy is like really interesting. And this is the first like actual kind of more in-depth gameplay that we've gotten to see from it. And I'm just liking the use of like spells in like interesting ways. And I'm kind of curious to see what this game is going to be about. This is probably one I will play the day it comes out. It just like looks bright and colorful. The spells look cool. I was a really big Outer Worlds fan. That was the first game I played when I got my new PC, and I just absolutely loved their branching story paths. A la like New Vegas is still no one really does it quite as well as them. Outer Worlds is maybe not New Vegas level, but it's probably the closest thing you would get. So I'm curious to see what they have on like another fantasy style game. They haven't done a fantasy game in a while.
Yeah, there are a couple other things in here as well. Obviously, Gears of War fans were very happy. A lot of people I didn't realize were Gears of War fans are like, Gears of War is coming out. I'm like, oh, you're a Gears of War fan. I don't know. That series has always just kind of passed me by. I've never really been a part of it. But, and obviously Black Ops 6 was the big show off at this thing. But overall, there are some other things as well. But I thought it was a really, really great presentation from Microsoft.
Is this the first Call of Duty game going to Game Pass on day one?
I don't think they said that it is going to Game Pass on day one.
They said, yeah.
They did.
They did.
I remember hearing
It's the first thing they said. Watch it again. Play it back.
I'm just blown away that there's a Black Ops 6.
Yeah, what happened to Black Ops like 3 through 5?
Those come out like Black Ops 1 was the last Call of Duty game I ever played. So it's just like, oh my God, there's 6 of these now, which is within a franchise that's like too many.
Well, maybe we can move on to some of the other ones here. We're already getting pretty long, and there's a lot of games I want to talk about. Day of the Devs happened next. I thought there was some really great stuff in there. First, I want to shout out UFO 50. This is a game that's been in development for like 8 years. Spearheaded by Derek Yu, who is the creator of Spelunky and Spelunky 2, as you'll know. This is 50 games. It is 50 full games by different developers, all under the same kind of banner of UFO 50. And it's UFO Soft, I think, is like the made up company that has a a games console that was active from like 1982 to like 1990 or something like that. So this kind of has an overarching story of all the games that were released for this console. And so that's really cool. It's kind of like if someone took the idea of like Pico 8 and release it as its own game, right? And so I find that to be really fascinating. That looks really great. I've been waiting for this game, honestly, since I first played Spelunky. So I'm really excited for this to finally come out. That game that I shat on so much in the past, Arranger, a role puzzling adventure, is that game where you're like sliding around on panels.
Yeah.
I thought that game looked kind of bad when I first saw it, but then this trailer actually made me come around to it. It just was a way better showing of the game and didn't trigger me with all those like sliding block puzzles that gave me so much trouble when I was a kid. This actually looks pretty charming and I think is looking a lot better from this presentation. Patrick, did you agree with that?
No, I just remember watching it and thinking David's gonna like this when we had that conversation after the indie showcase or whatever, and you're like, no, and I was like, oh, I guess I just don't know David as well, so I feel redeemed.
Maybe I was just in a bad mood that day, but a game that was honestly at like 3 or 4 of these showcases is Screenbound. That's been showing up all over the internet recently. It kind of went viral. It's a first-person game where you're holding a Game Boy type thing in front of you, and you're playing
this morning.
Yeah, you're playing like a 2D game while you're also moving around in 3 dimensions. It honestly breaks my brain a little bit. But they actually talked a little bit about how it works in this game, which is something that's cool about Day of the Devs, is that every one of these presentations, they show off the game and then they have the developers like talk about it, right? And they're not just like, here's a cinematic trailer for the game. They're like, here's how the game works, and this was my inspiration for it. This was blah, 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 blah. So if you like hearing from indie devs, Day of the Devs is a great presentation to watch as well. And then lastly, from Day of the Devs, I want to shout out Building Relationships, which I loved because the person whose game it was just kept saying, this is the stupidest game of all time. I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I'm making this game. And I was like, okay, this self-effacing attitude is working on me for some reason. But this is a game where you play as a house. You play as like buildings, and you're like rolling around and you're trying to like date other buildings. And it's not like a dating sim, really. It's like there's more to it. It's kind of more of a platformer than anything else, but it just seemed like a big, dumb, fun game. And I thought the trailer for it was really charming. And I definitely want to check that one out. Yeah, there was also the Devolver Direct. Maybe we should talk a little bit about the Direct itself. I mean, it was you know, kind of set in the world, but I feel like they didn't go quite as hard this year as they normally do with these things.
Yeah, I mean, it felt a little bit more, because E3 is dead, and they're like, well, we don't want to do a fake E3 presentation, so they did kind of more of like a meta short film, basically, about a guy who's obsessed with Volby. Worked for me. I thought it was pretty cool framing, and especially when he starts to trail off talking about video games, and then they went into a trailer, was cool.
Yeah.
So the one that really stood out to me was Tenjutsu. And it looks like it's from one of the designers of Dead Cells, and it's a like roguelite, some sort of a sim game mixed with a like kung fu fighting game. So you are playing, it's got kind of like a 16-bit, 8-bit, 16-bit style, and you kind of play this assassin who is just kind of trying to take over the city, and it's supposed to change based on like which gangs you take out first. So I'm curious to see kind of like how this plays out for sure.
Yeah, it's got a cool like protagonist as well. The whole game just looks really stylish.
Yeah.
There were some other games on there. There was a game from the creators of Hyperlight Drifter and Solar Ash called Possessors, which looks pretty cool. But there were a bunch more. The Future Games Showcase didn't have a ton of cool stuff, but I did want to give a shout out to Angeline Era, which I've talked about on this show before. They got a lot more eyes on that game from here. That was the creators of Anodyne, who are making that bump/adventure style game. I played the demo for that a while ago. I think that's still up on Steam, that demo. I really recommend everybody check that out. Such a unique game. That is just, I've never played anything like it before. It's just really refreshing to play a game that's not just like super tropey, and just, not that I don't like that. I love games that build off of what's come before, but this felt like it was something completely fresh. And I really enjoyed that. And then just a couple other ones from Future Games Showcase. Body Cam is out now, I think. Yeah, this is a game that's made in Unreal Engine 5 that is like the most realistic shooting game of all time. So if you ever wanted to like play live leak videos, then I guess this is for you. It isn't for me. I think this is a little bit too realistic for my taste, but a lot of people are looking for that utter realism. And I mean, the technology is undeniably incredible. You know, just the fact that we're at this point at all is pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then lastly, from the Future Game Showcase, I really liked Dystopica, which is it's like a city builder, but it's a like cyberpunk city builder. So it's basically you're building cities from like Blade Runner or something like that, right? And so I don't think there's any scoring. I think it's entirely vibes based, and it's just chill. It's like just make a chill environment in a dystopian world.
Just drop a skyscraper in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like really chill, and I'm not a huge city builder guy, but this is the kind of city builder I would like to play, I think.
Yeah.
If you guys are cool, I could just try to fire through these really quick.
Sure.
We talked so much about AAA games. I want to give a shout out to some of the indies I thought that looked really good. From the PC gaming showcase, there was Unbeatable. This fucking trailer blew me away. There are so many trailers in this weekend that had amazing 2D animation, and then you see the game and it doesn't look like that at all, which is not a knock against that. You know, we had, someone from my work, we do a lot of that at my work, right? We had, him on the show talking about sometimes, for like the Sonic stuff, we do a lot of 2D things. And it's like, yeah, it's great to have that kind of stuff in there to catch people's eyes. This is a game that looks like what the 2D animated trailers actually have in there. I just thought it had a great vibe. It's a rhythm-based kind of fighting game set in a dystopia where music is illegal and you do crimes. And that is kind of like the tagline for the game, which I really loved. And it just has this beautiful art style with this incredible 2D animation. And I can't wait for that game to come out. The trailer just kind of blew me away. There were a couple things here. IGN Live itself had some stuff. There was this game that I have been a Kickstarter backer of for a long time called The Big Catch. I'll talk about this a little bit at the end, but I wanted to show the trailer now. The Big Catch is a 3D platformer and is like an open world kind of thing. It reminds me a little bit of like maybe Jak and Daxter, or even like Bowser's Fury, right? Where you've got these areas where you can go into and you find these fish, which are kind of like stars or moons from Mario Odyssey or something like that. This right now has a demo out, and I say demo with big ass air quotes because it's really being pitched as like the prologue for the game. But it is free on Steam right now, and I've been playing it recently, and it is so goddamn fun. I love this game. If you were a fan of games like Pseudo Regalia, which had kind of like lower resolution, but like really difficult platforming that you just have to work really, really hard at to get down. It doesn't like give you a double jump. It doesn't just give you all this traversal options. You have to like use your environment and the limited move set that you have in order to do incredible things. I think a lot of people are complaining about the difficulty of this game right now, but it's really just something where the longer you play and the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of the movement options. I really recommend that everybody check out the free demo for this game right now on Steam. I'm really looking forward to it. It's coming out sometime next year. You had one, Jay, that you saw from IGN Games as well, right?
Yeah, I've noticed that I'm probably going to talk about this game every episode that I'm on, which is the Clock Tower remaster. It's definitely not a remake. I'm just super excited for it because that is one of my favorite games. I'm not a horror person, but that one just scratches my brain real good. I think I saw that there's like adding like a new song or something to it, and it's getting like a whole collector's edition. Now it's coming out like probably around Halloween, which is perfect. I'm begging all the viewers to help me buy this game, so we can get more stuff like this and maybe a new Clock Tower in the future.
Will you spend $100 on this game, Jeff?
Ooh. For the collector's edition, sure. Why not? I'm getting a game I already love, some cool memorabilia. Why not?
Yeah. There were a couple other presentations I want to talk about. The Future of Play Direct had a game called Abyss X Zero, which is by the creators of Unsighted, which was a really cool game that came out last year. This is a 3D Metroidvania-esque action game with a visual style that looks a lot like Mega Man Legends, right? So the characters all kind of have that weird kind of pastel 3D look to them. And they all have big boobs as well. So if that's your cup of tea, there you go. This is also in the women-led direct as well. It's made by, it's like a team of, I think, trans Brazilian women, which is awesome. This game is just looking incredible every time they show something new from this game. I just want it more and more. And then I'm going to move on to the Guerrilla Collective Showcase. The only game that really stood out to me on here was Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire, which I think also has a demo out right now during Steam Next Fest. This looks really cool to me because it reminds me a lot of Skies of Arcadia for the Dreamcast. And I was a huge fan of that. This is an RPG that has a lot of like flying mechanics and has turn-based battles, and I thought just looked fucking fantastic. So I can't wait to try this demo out, and hopefully I'll be talking more about that next week. Couple more things to talk about real quick at the women-led games was Bubblegum Galaxy. It's just, I have no idea what this game is. I just love the look of it. I've seen it a few times now, and I still have no idea what the gameplay is like, but I'm going to be playing this game purely based on aesthetics alone. So I don't know about that too much other than that, but I wanted to give it a shout out. Also, the women-led games showcase was hosted by a friend of the show, Leanna Rupert. So shout out to Leanna. Did a really great job hosting that showcase. And it's really great to see more of this showcased in general. And then lastly, I just want to give a shout out to the Wholesome Direct, which had a couple cool presentations in it. Squeakross, I have to mention Squeakross.
Yes, thank you. I was hoping you would.
Yeah, it is a Picross style game where all of the puzzle solutions that you get are little pieces of furniture that you can give your mouse friend. So basically, as you complete puzzles, it creates these 3D pieces of furniture that you can deck out in like your mouse's apartment. And then it kind of becomes like an Animal Crossing style, like home builder sort of thing. So I thought that was really cute and a cool twist on the formula. And then there's also a game that was shown called Pool, which I streamed last night. It's a Pool with 4 O's in the middle. And it is a Suica that is utilizing pool mechanics. So instead of just combining balls or fruit or whatever by dropping them, you're like top down on a pool table and you hit these balls into each other and then combine them until you run out of space on the board. So I thought that was a really cool twist on the Suica game mechanic.
Indeed. Well
done.
Yes, thank you, David.
Wow.
Tried to go fast.
You did great.
Speed.
I think that you going fast and mentioning the names of all these just shows how many showcases there were and how many games there were. And like, I haven't personally had a chance to watch all this. So thank you, David, for kind of guiding us through some of your favorites. But we can wrap it up. And, if you're out there listening and, we missed something that you thought was really cool, definitely let us know. We'll try to shout you out or share it with us in the Discord and we can talk about what we all missed or kind of, I think that's what we need, right? When there are 70 presentations, we need to help each other out. Yeah,
there were well over like 1,000 games shown off this weekend, right? And most of them I'd never heard of before, right? And so if there was something out there that you saw, please let us know, because there were so many diamonds in the rough, and a lot of these I didn't even watch these presentations. These were just games I was already aware of through Twitter or whatever, right? And I thought deserved a shout out on the show. So if there's any that you saw from these presentations, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and with that, we will take another break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the games that we've been playing recently. I think last week I talked about how in lieu of playing Paper Mario, The 1,000-Year Door, we were playing a lot of Minecraft. Well, it flipped over at my house this week, and we are about to beat Paper Mario, The 1,000-Year Door. I don't entirely know. It's one of those situations where you keep thinking you're about to beat it, and then there's another little thing. At least that's how it's been for me in Chapter 8, I think is what we're on. Chapter 8 or 9. I don't know. It's up there. I've stopped counting, but really enjoying this game. I think this is definitely, I see why this is everybody's favorite Paper Mario game. It's really been a blast. And like, I think it's entirely true that Chapter 3 really is a good turning point. And I think it might even be my favorite chapter in the whole game, Chapter 3. I don't want to like spoil anything for anybody, but like, I kind of talked about this. My least favorite thing about all the Paper Mario games might be the battles. I like the way that some of the chapters handle battles. Chapter 3 handles it in a way that I really like. I also really like the train chapter. I don't even know which one that was anymore. I think I just like the sort of story mystery elements they both had. I'm kind of surprised we didn't roll credits. Like, I really think we are like literally 10 minutes to 30 minutes away from doing it. Like, we were even playing at like 7 right before we started recording, and it was like, man, we are close, I think. But really enjoying this game. I think it's got just so much heart and charm. I get it. And then I guess I just have to mention Splatoon 3. There was the Big Run. I love Salmon Run. Big Run was a lot of fun. I didn't get to play with a lot of people other than my kid. I dropped my rank to professional so that it wasn't too hard for us, and we had some fun playing it. We got the triumvirate, which is the 3 bosses, once together, and then I got it once without him, and I kind of was playing at professional level, and I kind of single-handedly took out one of the bosses when I got it with some randos, and then finished off a second one. Never got all 3, but we got to the point where I took down Megalodontia pretty much by myself. I mean, some of it was weapon specific, why I did that, and then finished off Kohozuna, and there was like 10 seconds left, and we didn't quite get the thing done. But man, I wish I could have. I wish it would have been fun. I wish I had not deranked in some ways. But it was a good swan song for these big runs, I think, they added a new Grizzco weapon, the Grizzco Roller, which was a ton of fun. It's ridiculous, like all the Grizzco weapons are. But anyway, I talk about Splatoon all the time, but this was a good reason too. So that was me. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. I haven't been playing too much. I did start playing the Star Wars Dark Forces remaster, which is a very good remaster. Speaking of Star Wars games without lightsabers, I thought that was very, I was just kind of like curious because I had never really played it back in the day, and I played a lot of Doom, so I was like, you know what? Let's see what Star Wars Doom is all about.
Another great Night Dive remaster as well.
Dude, the remaster is incredible. It runs so smoothly, dude. I'm just super impressed. I will say the game is like weirdly obtuse in some of the level design, so I don't know how much more I will be diving in past like mission 3 or 4. However, I'm glad that it exists, and I'm glad there's a really good remaster of it, just so I could dip my toes in. I have also been continuing my Paper Mario The 1,000-Year Door remake playthrough of my first time playing the game. I'm about to be at chapter 3 title screen. So just to kind of give you an idea, I'm kind of like on and off playing it, but I'm kind of trying to take it slow, kind of like I did with Paper Mario, just to like really soak it in. And I'm really enjoying it as well. I thought chapter 2 was a big improvement over chapter 1, and I can kind of see the elements that they're slowly introducing and building up. It's really cool. But yeah, incredible game. Loving it. I want another Paper Mario in this style for sure. And then the last game I've been playing, this was kind of one I just saw on Steam. It got recommended to me based on other games I've played. Very random. It's a free game called Moonring, and it's old school. People call it a successor to Ultima, like an old school RPG, almost rogue, like true roguelike game. And dude, something about it just speaks to me. It takes all those old school RPG elements and kind of like breathes new life into them, and kind of takes all the best parts of it and makes a modern package out of it. And it runs super smooth. And it's got this weird thing going on where there's like half the screen is like your inventory and like maps and stuff or whatever. And what you would normally see when you pause the game. And then the other half of the game is the game itself. And something about that like layout is like really working for me. And it's like a very interesting to see a game try that out and try out a new interface. But anyway, it's just free. No microtransactions, nothing, completely free. And it's updated with some regularity. I was looking at the community. But yeah, if you have some time to kill, Moonring, you like old school RPGs, definitely recommend checking it out. It's got like a nice neon aesthetic. Cool game.
Yeah, I'll go next. I have been playing a lot more than I was playing last week. Like I said, I've been playing Pool and the Big Catch Tackle Box, which I'll probably talk more about next week, the Big Catch demo. But really, guys, go download it. Like, I am so fucking happy with this. It is huge, too. I feel like I could play this demo for like maybe 10 hours or something and not see everything that's in it. It's like an enormous slice of the game. I played a little bit of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2 with Rob. We played some multiplayer. That was a lot of fun. I love that game. And then I want to give a shout out to Windswept. That's a game that I also am a Kickstarter backer on. This had a demo come out recently, and I just played through it. Not nearly as big as the Big Catch demo, but a pretty chunky demo. I think it's got like 5 or so levels in it, including a boss fight. And it is a Donkey Kong Country, like, straight up, where a game like the Big Catch, I'm like, wow, this is doing really new things with the genre I've never seen before. This is just straight up doing Donkey Kong Country again. I mean, it's got some things that make it unique. You know, it's got a pixel art look, and it's got some other things, but it isn't trying to be anything other than just a really solid fucking Donkey Kong Country style game with great level design. And I love that. And it is so fun. This game, when it comes out, you guys have to check this out. I really recommend checking out the demo now for Windswept. This game is going to be really special when it comes out. If you're a fan of those kinds of games, you should not sleep on this one. I picked up a game called Bzzzt. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. Probably like that. This was shown off, I think, in an indie world recently and just caught my eye because of how good it looked. It is a precision pixel platformer. There's not too much more to say about it. It reminds me a little bit of Patrick's game. If like the pixel art was a lot more detailed, but the gameplay was a lot more basic. If that makes any sense, right? It's just like a no-frills pixel platformer without any gimmicks, and just like a lot of beautiful pixel art going on in the background.
It's really funny to hear you talk about all this because, you know, we've talked about, David, how I think about you as like the player I want, like that I'm designing the game for. And I've been following these games, like, cause I've been trying to follow what are people making that's kind of similar to what I'm making. And like, I go hop over to Kickstarter a lot and just look at the similar, you know, so it's like really funny to me. I don't, just totally an aside. Like,
yeah. But yeah, it's fun. I want to play it more, but there's more games I want to play right now than Bzzzt. So maybe I'll get back to it at some point. I started playing a game on my phone called Pikubo, which is straight up just Picross 3D, but on a phone. I love it. I love the chisel away style of Picross 3D, and it works perfectly on mobile. So great pickup if you're a Picross 3D fan. Super fun game. I think the first like set of puzzles are free, and then each set after that is like only 99 cents for each set. So it seems like it's a really good deal. I haven't bought any yet, but I'm sure I will because it's a no-brainer for that price. And I love this kind of style of game, and it's really good to have just on the go. And then lastly, I was gobsmacked today during Steam Next Fest by the surprise drop of the demo for Riven, the game, obviously, by the creators of Myst, something I've been looking forward to forever. I was already shocked that it's coming out at the end of this month, and then I was shocked today to know that the actual demo is out as a part of Steam Next Fest. I haven't played it too much. I've been mostly spending my time today like fiddling with the settings on my Steam Deck to make it like run best in portable mode, obviously, you know, because it's made in it's either Unreal Engine 4 or Unreal Engine 5, but you know, at epic settings, this is an incredibly beautiful looking game that is a little too powerful for the Steam Deck, right? So I'm finding the nice middle ground on where exactly it's going to run, but I'm sure I'll talk more about that game next week once I put more time into the demo. But again, another beefy demo, and really shows off quite a bit of the first island of that game. Jay, what about you? What have you been playing this week?
Main thing I have been playing for the last couple of weeks, maybe months, is Yakuza Like a Dragon. My first ever Yakuza game, and I want to give a very deep thank you to everyone in Discord and in my real life who were like, Jay, you would love this game. You were absolutely right. It's pro wrestling. It's positive masculinity. It's JRPGs. And to a point you mentioned earlier, David, it's JRPGs where everyone is like 40 years old.
Right, yeah.
Which is awesome. Like, I never knew I wanted that. And I was like, I want more RPGs like this.
Yeah, when are we going to be represented?
Yes! Yes! Thank you.
Finally, I'm represented by these Japanese gangsters.
So I'm on the last chapter of that. Very close to beating it. Outside of that, back on Balatro. I got a run with one Joker that I mentioned earlier in the Discord, and now I'm hooked again. I actually started playing Paper Mario 64 because part of me just wanted to like revisit that before diving into the Thousand Year Door. And then I guess outside of that, just playing like lots of games that I thankfully already own the cartridge for on the new Delta emulator. And that's been a lot of fun. Played Pokemon Pinball, which I really missed. And then Pokemon Pinball on the Game Boy Advance, which I never played. Yeah, just, getting laid off means you have more time for games. So that's been kind of nice.
Well, I think then that is going to do it for this episode on Summer Game Fest and all the other announcements and showcases. Thank you so much, Jay, for coming on and on your 6th appearance, we believe.
6th. So I've got my 5-timers jacket. Now I'll send you the measurements for my 6-timers jacket. Get a jacket every
You
next
get a jacket
episode.
every time?
That's how it works.
That's too many jackets. So we're in a hot environment.
That's true.
Thank you to MilkyWay.co, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. Thanks to all our patrons on Patreon. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, you can find me as PDYX.
You can find me online at Bordan.
I'm pretty much ever on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Jay? Where can people find you online?
You can pretty much find me as the Huge 27 on just about everything. If it's all right with y'all, I'd like to plug my wrestling show real quick. If you're in the Austin area, June 22nd, Fight Opera is hosting a good old-fashioned train robbery. If you know my character, you know what that means. June 22nd at the Austin Beer Works Sprinkle Valley. It's like their newest location. Yeah, please come through. It's going to be a very fun time.
Very good. Yeah, make sure you check that out. Always a good time to watch some indie wrestling right here in beautiful Austin, Texas, in the 98-degree weather.
It's going to be a hot one.
Yeah. Bring a little fan. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We've got a website, switchheads.com. And then we have our Patreon, Discord, and Facebook group. We'll have links to all 3 of those in the description of this episode. Please go over to our Patreon, check in $1 over there. We love the support. And join us over there on Discord. We have a wonderful community that we have built over the years, and we would love to see you in there and be part of the conversation. That's going to do it for this episode on Summer Games Fest and the E3 likes. We're going to be back next week talking about who knows what. Probably not the direct, but time will certainly tell, won't it? You guys know the drill. Stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Why don't you join an indie wrestling organization and get super ripped? That's what life is all about, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'm so ripped right now.
Yeah, Jay's the most ripped guy I know. Anyway, we love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.